Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. With Joker, Folie, Deux now in theaters, today I'm taking a long overdue look at the gold label Deadly Duo Joker by McFarlane Toys. And don't worry, I'm also trying out a whole slew of head swaps. Starting with the packaging, and strictly speaking, this Joker is not DC Multiverse. It is gold label though, which transcends all lines. Instead, we get a slipcover with a spot varnished Joker logo. This particular figure is from the Deadly Duo. It's also an authenticated limited edition. More of those logos on the spine, and then on the back is some full-sized artwork of Joker cutting out little bat symbols while wearing a GIMP mask. Pulling that slipcover off and we get an idea of what we're getting, but technically the whole box actually comes wrapped in cellophane, so this is all you're seeing. I know that's how McFarlane normally does all these kinds of exclusives, but at least the sketch edition gives you some kind of window. I know this is supposed to be more prestigious, but for me it just falls a bit flat. So flat that for packaging, I'm giving Deadly Duo Joker 3 points. Wait a minute, the mailer literally says DC Multiverse? Well then, I stand corrected. Moving on to presentation, and this is cool looking, but let's be honest, this mask isn't what any of us are here for. So with your blessing, I'm going to stick with the regular Joker head, but don't worry, I'll circle back around to this in playability. First things first, and this Joker stands at 7¼ inches, or about 18½ centimeters, and is mostly reuse of the 3 Jokers Criminal, right down to the knees and elbows not matching the rest of the body. Looking at him side by side with the box art though, and I totally get why they used this. McFarlane even went in to update the tie to make it more accurate to the source material. Considering that they weren't willing to do that for the Red Hood figure, I appreciate it all the more. The lapels on his jacket unfortunately aren't quite as accurate. They didn't paint any pinstripes on the suit, but they did give it a small amount of dry brushing to bring out some highlights. Not only that, but the colors of the shirt, tie, and vest match the comic art perfectly. The shoes are not painted like spats this time, but the gloves are a more tan color than usual, which is a nice change of pace. Where I find myself conflicted though is the head. I will say that the sculpt on this is phenomenal. In my search for the basic Joker of my comic book collection, this does check most all of my boxes. I love how the eyes are painted and shaded, and the grin is perfect. The hair's a little ostentatious, but it kind of reminds me of the animated Joker. The issue that I have is the color. Instead of his normal ghostly pallor, this Joker has very dark gray skin. On the one hand, it makes the cartoonishly bright lips and hair stand out all the more, and I do like the level of painted detail, but this is just a bit too dark for my taste. Full disclosure, I haven't read Batman and Joker the Deadly Duo, but doing a Google and it doesn't look like he was that gray in the comic. This really just feels like a choice McFarlane made, and unfortunately, I do think it was the wrong choice. With the masked head being the standard version, I could see how judging presentation based on the alternate head might seem unfair, but this head is still part of the figure, and I think it's fair to assume people will display him like this. Overall, I'm happy, but some of the color choices do take me out of it, and even then you do still have the mismatched knees and elbows. Factoring that against the wonderful paint job on the suit, and for presentation, I'm giving Joker 4 points. Moving on to Posability, and we've seen this body a couple of times now, so we have a pretty decent idea of what to expect. Joker's head is on a dumbbell joint. You can look up this high, this far down. Nice deranged amount of tilt, and all the way around. Moving down, Joker can raise his arms over 90 degrees, which always puts a smile on my face. He's also got bicep swivel, the nice deep bend of a DC Multiverse double jointed elbow, and wrist balls that can swivel. Not a whole lot of range in that hinge, but that's due in part to the cuffs. And speaking of the suit getting in the way of articulation, let's talk about this rubber overlay middle. Oh hey, that's actually pretty great. And you know what? That's about 10 times better than usual. Truly, everything is chaos. I will say the tilt does suffer a bit, but no problem with twist. Below the waist, and Joker has the typical McFarlane hips. Because of the suit, he can only really kick this high, and he can only split about this wide. Very pleasantly surprised by the amount of twist in the hip though. And moving down, those miscolored double jointed knees have a very nice deep bend, and then of course Joker has toe articulation, but because of the pants, not a whole lot of side to side, barely any tilt, and only the slightest amount of pivot. In some ways, the articulation on this figure is better than usual. In other ways, like the hands and feet, it's a little bit worse. Meeting in the middle, and for posability, I'm giving Joker 4 points. Moving on to playability, and it's finally time to talk about this mask. It's been sculpted very well, the zippers are incredibly lifelike, and overall there's all the texture and seam lines you'd come to expect. Additionally, there is some extra paint in there to bring all the detail out. My only criticism is I think it sits a little bit low compared to his regular head. When you look at it compared to the length of his torso and limbs, I think you can see what I mean. Still, this is a fun, different look. Otherwise, this Joker comes with a trading card. Instead of a bio, it actually acts as a certificate of authenticity. All figures are individually hand-painted, huh? Because this looks pretty printed to me. Maybe because this head's the accessory, that doesn't count. One fun thing Joker comes with is this weird potato bat demon monster thing. Had I read the Deadly Duo comic, I'd probably know what I'm looking at. I do like the scraggly, tattered wings. Instead of a typical figure stand, Joker comes with this larger display base. It's covered in ha-ha-has, but it's actually only a sticker, and there are quite a few bubbles to work out. Still, there's a little peg hole here. That's for the potato bat buddy. There's also a slit running along the back for a reversible backdrop. On the one side, you can show off Joker with the comic art that they used on the box, or you can have him in front of Arkham Asylum. Not surprisingly, I think I like that better. But playability is more than just display bases and bat monsters, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting with sidekicks, and here he is with the 2-pack punchline, but for some Harley's Quinn and for a couple of classic options, here's DC Essentials and DC Multiverse. For a couple of Arkham City options, and here's NECA and Mattel. And for a couple of live action options, here's the King Sharkwave version and Birds of Prey. For the most important comparison though, and here we have Batman. Here's 3 Jokers in Rebirth, the blue and gray and black and gray versions of Hush, and the blue and gray and black and gray versions of Nightfall. For a couple of video game options, and here's Arkham Knight and Arkham City, and for one I know a lot of you like, and here we have Page Punchers. For a relative scale comparison, here's Joker with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. You know what? I could get into this. Of course, I know what you've all been waiting for are the head swaps. Going in basic chronological order, and first up is Arkham Asylum. While this is a departure from the Arkham Asylum design, I like it. I'm not going to point out the mismatched skin tone every time, but in general, that smaller head does balance out the Arkham Asylum body better. Still, that classic bright white Joker head on this suited body does look good. I think the head maybe sits a bit low, but with a little creativity, this could work. Next up, and reusing a lot of parts from Arkham Asylum, is DC Rebirth. Although the bodies are similar, I do think this combination looks even better than Arkham Asylum. The suit colors are just more of a classic Joker feel, and if you prefer your Joker a bit more wiry, I think this is the way to go. On the flip side, I have never hidden the fact that I don't really like this head. It mainly just comes down to the paint job. Giving it a repaint though, and I do think this combo would work. For one of my favorites, and here's Mortal Kombat 11, the biggest strength of the Mortal Kombat body is its realistic proportions. In that respect, this head is a pretty good fit. If he had a tie and a vest, he'd probably be my definitive Joker. That's due in part to this spectacular head sculpt. It's probably my favorite McFarlane Joker head, and it works really well here. Next up, and here's the 3 Jokers clown. We've seen this head on this body before, but I have to say, with this paint scheme, I really like it better. If anyone wanted to make this combination their standard Joker, I would totally get it. The open jacket of the clown version does add to the posability, and in general, this doesn't look bad. It all just depends on how you feel about this color scheme. Unfortunately, I can't find my 3 Jokers comedian Joker right now, but here we have the criminal. This is the exact same body with a different tie, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. Really, I just want to show you how cool this body looks with this head. As one of the few Joker figures that are depicted as scowling, it adds a lot of personality, and with the nice matte finish is a vast improvement on the original release. For a live action option, and here's Heath Ledger from The Dark Knight. As usual, I don't really think the Heath Ledger works on the more stylized body. The proportions are just too fanciful and it's overall too polished. But this, on the other hand, could be onto something. It goes without saying that some repainting would be necessary, but I am very open to this body being used as a standard Joker. Also reusing this body is Vampire Joker. Once again, these figures share the same body, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to linger. It really just boils down to if you want a bit more painted detail in your Vampire Joker suit. Next up is the one-eyed Infinite Frontier. The Infinite Frontier Joker is such a specific look, I'm not sure how well it works on this body. I'll let you be the judge. I think it's because Infinite Frontier is so lanky. Even so, I like this head on this body a lot more than I thought I would. The neck is pretty scrawny, but the collar and the jaw do hide that well. So if you want to make this work, you really could. Using that same body as Joker from the Punchline 2-pack, it really just breaks down to which color scheme you prefer. I kind of prefer this one just because it's more traditional. This head, however, is sufficiently different from Infinite Frontier. Overall, I do like the design, but I also wonder if it isn't just a bit too small for this body. Lastly, and because I know a bunch of you you have done this yourself, my own custom kit bash. I've already shown you this head on this body, so I'm not going to repeat myself. It's all about this combo. My custom combines the suit from Death of the Family with the shirt and flower from the clown. This just gives you a nice even purple suit with a simple green shirt, and if you repainted the head, it would be darn near perfect. This figure is definitely a departure from what I'm used to with the Joker, and while I do think this would have benefited from some extra hands, the accessories we have are fun, the design will really stand out on your shelf, and the display base provides some fun options, especially for figure photography. Bumping it up thanks to the head swap potential and for playability, I'm giving this Joker 5 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. The average retail price for this figure is $37, but I have seen it on sale for $25. I paid $25, and honestly I wouldn't have paid much more than that. Display base aside, this is mostly just a repaint of a Joker we've gotten a few times with an alternate head and a bat. I get why it's an online exclusive. I don't think stores like Target will be down for Joker in a BDSM mask. Still, the fact that this figure is even available at all, no less discounted, tells you everything you need to know. For price, I'm giving Deadly Duo Joker 4 points, averaging out to a grand total of 4 out of 5. For more Joker videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun.